Hey, everybody. This is Brian Powers. It's Tuesday night. Thanks for tuning in as Revolution Radio goes live. This is the Idavox Report.
Welcome, everyone, to the Idavox Report. I am your host, Daryle Lamont Jenkins, along with Brian Powers and Christian Perez, and we are going to have a fun-filled and exciting event today. And I'm glad that everybody's here. How y'all doing, Brian?
Good, brother. Just finishing up dinner over here. Don't mind me while I finish my chicken.
Hey, no worries. You're just macking on that chicken, man.
Oh, this is good chicken.
You can't stop it with the chicken.
I'm probably about to tell you to get a room with that chicken.
I might be eating this chicken the whole show. I gotta be honest with you.
Oh boy, what's up, Christian?
How we doing, Daryle? Doing okay. Looking forward to tonight's conversation. Wait.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. But we need a little levity. We need a little levity here now with and this is 2 days after the Oscars. I'm all about the Oscars since I technically won an Oscar. So I was like, this is really the first time in a real long time I watched the entire Oscar awards show. And I was really happy with some of them. I'm glad that Daniel Kaluuya won for portraying Fred Hampton in
It's a good movie.
Judas and the Black Messiah. The weird thing about that though is Lakeith Stanfield and him were in the same category, best supporting actor. And everybody's like, well, who the hell was the main character in Judas and the Black Messiah if both of them were supporting characters?
This used to be that white dude. I can't remember his name. But in all honesty, for anybody that saw Judas and the Black Messiah, Lakeith Stanfield is the main character.
Yeah.
Right? I just thank you, Warren. Thank you, Warren. But I mean, it's like anybody that watches that movie sees Keith Stanfield, like his character is the central point. He is the Judas in the Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I got to look up that white actor now. I can't remember the guy's name. The guy from
I can't remember his name. He shows up every now and again.
He's a good actor. He's been in a couple of different projects. I mean, he's good. Oh, Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, and
good actor.
But Daniel Kaluuya, hella man. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
great
actually
job.
the first. This is actually remember that Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield were also in the movie Us. So
Get Out. They were out together.
huh? I mean, get out, not Us. Get out.
Was the oh my
Black
God.
people
Us
like
was
it.
bad. I'm sorry. Us was bad.
I liked Us, and now there's a show called Them that everybody was, them. It's on whatchamacallit. It's on Amazon Prime. So
Okay.
but Daniel Kaluuya has been kicking ass all over the place. I mean, he's done Judas and the Black Messiah. He was in Get Out, and he was also in Black Panther. He killed it in Black Panther, and so did Chadwick Boseman. And I'm really upset. I'm among those that are upset that he didn't get the Oscar. It was great to see a lot of Black talent get recognized finally in the Oscars, as well as people of color. Nomadland, I believe y'all talked about, and
Yeah, that was we did a review on that on NJR Live last week with one of our editorial board members, Belisha. She comes on once a month and does a little movie review. It's a lot of fun, and to appreciate the arts. But I thought I didn't see the other movies. That's the only nominee that I saw out of it. And I thought it was really good. I thought the way it was portrayed and the subtle hints and using it was not a lot of dialogue in the movie. So, the art form of filmmaking really came through. Although I thought at parts the writing was a little clunky, and the big criticism is it in the book, they're very heavy on Amazon, and they focus a lot on the working conditions and the way Amazon treats these migrant workers. And the movie doesn't really get into it that much. It romanticizes it a little bit. Although, there's negatives and positives to that kind of lifestyle. We explored it in our review, but I don't know. I've seen better movies. I'm an action movie kind of guy anyway. I always think a comic
Hey.
movie is better than a drama. That's my thing, you know.
Same here. Same here. I mean, I like, and I got to tell you to that point, I mean, I'm into all the superhero stuff because I've always wanted to see how they would portray all these superhero characters once they got them on film. And boy, did they do a number on Falcon and the Black Messiah. Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Oh, I didn't finish it yet. I didn't finish it yet. I'm one episode off.
Okay.
As comic book fans, you know, or superhero movie fans or whatever, I just have a question. It's not just me that does this, but every time you go into an X-ray machine, do you imagine yourself getting gamma radiation and getting some superpowers out of that deal?
Turning into the Hulk.
Is that that has that little when the nurse puts on the lead jacket and like aims that little target at your head, do you just for a brief moment think, I'm gonna turn into the fucking Hulk and I'm gonna kick some ass, man? I mean,
look at it like this. I just got my second dose. I got my second dose last week, and I was undergoing radiation treatment. And I was just hoping that, you know, something would go awry and I will have some sort of superpowers. And considering that basically the radiation treatment was aimed at my pelvic area,
your superpowers would be pretty interesting. I'm just saying.
Superpowers would be pretty interesting. If anybody watches The Boys, I'm not going there. I'm a refined individual, and I'm not going to play that game because I'll be hearing about it forever. But I did bring up Chadwick Boseman. I don't want to get away from that, and I brought him up because him and Daniel Kaluuya was in Black Panther together. Obviously, Chadwick Boseman was the Black Panther, and full disclosure, he was working on the project that is about me. The next project that everybody knows I did I was featured in the movie Skin by another superhero by the name of Mike Coulter, who played Luke Cage in the Netflix series. So they was going to do a sequel to that, which was basically about me. And Chadwick Boseman is signed on to that. Unfortunately, we lost him. The project is still going forward. But to be honest with you, even if that wasn't the case, I still think I was hoping that he would have gotten this Oscar. I mean, that was going to be the best tribute to not just the body of work he did in so little time, but with what he had to deal with. I mean, he earned that Oscar from Mom Rainey's Black Bottom. And look, you're losing to Anthony Hopkins is not a bad thing, but even Anthony Hopkins was saying, "What the hell?" I mean, he gave props to Chadwick when he gave his acceptance speech later. For some strange reason, they wouldn't let him do it on Zoom. I don't know why, but
I learned a long time ago for our fans out there, like, don't put too much stock into these award shows. I mean, a lot of times it's a contest. And I mean, in one hand, that Chadwick Boseman won, but on another hand, it's, you know, I mean, people like Anthony Hopkins hasn't won an award. Like, you have to know that the way the people these award monies are thinking is he's due for one. So if that means stepping on Chadwick Boseman's performance to give Anthony Hopkins an award, they'll do it. The Oscars, the Grammys, it's what they do. Don't put too much faith in these.
I think for me, it's just general principle. I mean, no, we're going to do what we do regardless of whether or not we get awards or even fame and fortune. I mean, I keep stressing that out from the punk scene. We weren't necessarily looking for it. Black actors, black producers, we're not. I mean, yes, we are planning on coming up. Do not get me wrong on that. But truth be told, we're not looking for the approval of people who don't like us in the first place, you know. But having said that, it was good. It was just, you know, it would have been nice. It just would have been nice, to have Chadwick Boseman Oscar winner. But having said that, it was especially nice to see Trayvon Free win his Academy Award. Best live action short, Two Distant Strangers.
Yeah.
Now, this was the Academy Award that I technically won a couple of years ago with Skin. He won for Two Distant Strangers, and I you can find it on Netflix. I say watch it on Netflix, and it's one hell of a damn damn movie. I was getting ready to say show. And if you get a chance, you'll understand why I'm really hesitant in saying exactly what it is. But let me tell you something. It ties up ties up the issue of police brutality in a way that just gets more and more twisted as you watch it, and it just gets you angrier and angrier. And it's like, just picture, addressing police brutality through the lens of Groundhog Day. I'm not kidding. And that's all I'm going to say on it. Just
last week's show, folks. Watch a trailer for it.
Yeah.
Lay it back. Lay it back.
Yeah. And it won the Oscar. And it won the damn Oscar. And I'm damn proud of that. I'm happy as hell about it.
We should have put money on it, Daryl.
And I'm not a betting man. I mean, especially when because if I was betting, I would have put money on Chadwick Boseman winning. It's like, ooh, lost all that cash. But police brutality is what everybody is talking about. Police killings is what everyone's talking about. Last week we was talking about Kia Bryant being murdered by the police, and it's funny because the police released the video immediately. Considering that it actually makes it looks as though it was a good shoot, so they put it out there. But you have this situation in Elizabeth City. Brown, I believe the person's name is, and I apologize for not getting it because it's coming off the top of my head. He was shot in the back of the head while he had his hands on the steering wheel. The fact of the matter is, people want to know what's going on. They're asking for they're demanding that the police release that video, and they're not. So you have a situation where the video was released in Columbus immediately.
42 years old.
42 years old. Was it Anton Brown or was it Anthony Brown?
Andrew Brown, 42 years old.
Brown. Thank you.
Andrew Brown Jr. Elizabeth
Andrew
City.
Brown Jr. So you have a situation where in Columbus, Ohio, they have they released the footage immediately because it makes their cop look good. But this time it probably a case where the cop looks bad because according to the family, 20 seconds of the video, he was shot in the back of the head. So now we really got to know what's going on. And by the way, Columbus, Ohio isn't off the hook. The reason why everything popped off was because they had more than their share of problems with the Columbus police in recent years. I mean, just last December, they were popped for killing another dude. I mean, I don't know if anybody actually remembers all this, but I don't see it here. Okay, I gotta look for it. But there was I was trying to get the person's name, but it was the brother. They had this on dash cam video. They released this, and the cop is under indictment. He had his cell phone in his hand, and they shot him anyway. And he wasn't making any aggressive moves in any size, shape, or form. This was back in December. And also, what was going on, was the fact that you also had this thing that happens all the damn time in at Ohio State University, where this one particular weekend in April, the students go buck wild and start engaging in all kinds of vandalism and starts tearing shit up. They do it every year. I remember when they did it, it was pissing me off because no one was saying anything about it when I was living in Columbus 20 years ago. And when Stansbury got killed in in Cincinnati, Fox News was all over it because everything blew up in Cincinnati. It was a cop that shot him, and all of a sudden everything blew up, and all of a sudden they got to start complaining about riots when they didn't do it when OSU was rioting. Now you had rioting over the weekend just before Sister Bryant got killed. And in addition to that, and they didn't do anything. The cops did anything. No arrests. And then we have this thing, a weird situation where a police helicopter on what has been called a joyride was taking a flight path that spelled out the word CPD over the black community. And it's a weird it's a weird situation. It's incredibly corny, to be honest. This is we're going to be talking about something pathological to begin with.
We lose Daryle.
Apparently, we did lose Daryle, and so this is a good time for Christian and Brian to just take over and rule. Now he's back.
I'm back. I don't know how the heck that happened. But no, what I was saying,
Daryle, you're keeping it too real, and they're shutting us down.
Yeah. I mean, that link, Leah, by the way, is going to be just put that up on the screen. That's the story about the helicopter flight pattern. That is just weird. But police in this country are basically being taught to be psychopaths, honestly. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about the guy that's teaching them to be psychopaths. And that person is retired Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman of the Killology Research Group. Yes, you heard that correctly. If you have not heard this guy before, that is his actual crew. That is his actual organization, the Killology Research Group. This is the guy who was in the Army for 23 years. He was an Army Ranger. He was a former West Point psychology professor, a professor of military science. He has written 10 books, 6 fiction, 4 nonfiction. Among the nonfiction was a book called On Killing, The Psychological Cost of Learning to Kill in Modern Society. Put that out in 95. And On Combat, the psychologically and physiology of deadly conflict in war and in peace. Now, both these books, according to Glenn Beck, who loves him to death, gives you an idea how bad he is. Both these books are on the U.S. Marine Corps Commandant required reading list, as well as required reading for military and police academies. He also has a book called Assassination Generation, Video Games, Aggression, and the Psychology of Killing, came out in 2016, where they started talking about shootings. He was on Tucker Carlson, who also loves him to death.
Of course. All the winners.
And basically what he...
Quite a list of endorsers he has here. All fine, upstanding people.
Yes, indeed. And one of the things... And basically, he was trying to talk about the mass shootings that were going on at the time. At the time he was on Tucker Carlson's show, I guess Parkland just happened. And so they were sitting. He has this thing where he basically tries to blame the shootings, the mass shootings and stuff on video games. Now,
sloppy, lazy.
Now, in the Tucker Carlson video, he actually talks about, and I'm not going to have that up here right now. I don't have it ready. When I left the stream, we lost the videos, but that I want to put up. But I'm putting up the videos back up now. So when we had one of the things he wanted to, he said at the end of it. He said at the end of the discussion about how video games and all this silly stuff is to blame for mass shootings. At the end of this segment with Tucker Carlson, he was trying to encourage kids to become sheepdogs. That's his thing. Something about the whole thing about we need more sheepdogs out there, and the first video that I'm going to show right now is basically him explaining what a sheepdog is.
In America, I would submit
that's it.
There's a higher ratio of sheepdogs than most other nations around the planet. People who have chosen to train themselves, to arm themselves, to prepare themselves. And so there are sheep. The vast majority truly are just gentle creatures and only hurt by action, extreme provocation. And then there are wolves. The wolves will feed the sheep without mercy. And then there are sheepdogs. The sheepdogs are those who are dedicated to protecting the flock. And that's what we're talking about is America, more than anybody else on the planet today, is a nation of sheepdogs. You know, maybe Israel, maybe Switzerland, just few of the nations that really nurture that sheepdog spirit that empower their citizens, that give them the resources. And, have you wondered what it was like to be, what would it have been like to be one of the samurai, Book of Five Rings, in that era, what would it have been like to be one of the knights of old? This is what it's like. We've got state-of-the-art tools. We've got state-of-the-art training. We're given the authority to administer life and death. That sheep mindset is really pretty pathetic,
What the fuck is he talking about?
Samurai used to molest little boys. I hope he knows that, and he doesn't know that, right? Like this, God. Like there's no. He has read Musa's Book of the Five Rings. I'm putting my money out there, right? This is an unintelligent man playing at being like. Once heard a criticism of Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's a total waste of oxygen, and he referred to as the person's idea of an intellectual. That's what this Grossman guy is. He's a stupid person's idea of what an intelligent person is. It's embarrassing.
12-year-old kids that watch Dragon Ball Z want to be ninjas, dude, not grown-ass fucking men. What the fuck is wrong with him?
Like blaming video games? What year is this? People are still blaming video games. I mean, it's this guy's whole gimmick is on police violence. So for him blaming video games, I guess it's direction.
And right? I want to talk. Yeah. No, and I want to just say it's funny how he's sitting there blaming video games, asking for kids to be sheepdogs. And basically what that means to him, remember that his thing is to teach cops how to kill. Okay. So, and he looks at cops as sheepdogs. In fact, it looks at the military as being sheepdogs as well. Now, what you just heard, by the way, is so influential among the right that their right-wing entertainment is employing it, or rather applying it to their movies and stuff like that. American Sniper, the last video that we have in the queue, Leah. This was coming out of the movie American Sniper.
I've been on the road for 18 years.
No, that's the second one. That's the second one. That's the wrong one. Yeah, the third one.
There are three types of people in this world: sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs.
That's it.
Now, some people prefer to believe that evil doesn't exist in the world, and that if ever darkened their doorstep, they wouldn't know how to protect themselves. Those are the sheep. And then you got predators. They use violence to prey on the weak. They're the wolves. And then there are those who've been blessed with the gift of aggression and the overpowering need to protect the flock. These men are the rare breed who live to confront the wolf.
How's that for?
What a bunch of nerds. I don't even know how to react to that. Like,
I do.
Like, could you imagine being a police officer?
Did you just see that?
Yeah.
What? Sorry, I missed it. Back it up a little bit. Can you back it up a little bit?
Oh my God, yeah.
I was laughing like a jackass.
Beating somebody's ass.
Oh, where he was beating the kid up?
And we're not raising any sheep in this family. And I will whoop your ass if you turn into a wolf.
My dad would whoop his dad's ass. Just putting that out there. Right? I would love to see my dad in all his rage kick the crap out of Chris Kyle's lame dad. Like,
Warren said it exactly right. It's hyper masculinity. It's toxic masculinity. It's this idea that being a man means being violent.
Yes, sir.
And I had a discussion with some people about.
Hold on, Leah, you can kill that video.
Says Chris Kyle be bomb.
Yeah,
come on.
I mean, we had some discussions about like what being a man and what being a man. And one of the problems like with this world is that men are only allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to show love. We're not allowed to show affection because we're weak. We're not allowed to cry because we're not allowed to be afraid. The only thing we're allowed to do, and the only thing that'll get us attention, is being angry or violent. And that's essentially what he's reinforcing here: that you ain't a man unless you can use violence as a solution to problems.
Well, you see, the thing is, the reason why we're talking about Dave Grossman is that he's taken that and turned and weaponized it. Yeah, really weaponized it and turned, never mind the military on us, used it with the military, have trained the military to go out and think like that 1,000 times over. But now it's our police. and our police are really loving this dude. I mean, you want to know why we have problems today? This is coming from, I gotta say that if you want to know more, really get an in-depth idea of how bad Dave Grossman was, Behind the Bastards, Robert Evans' podcast did a whole thing on him last year, just after everything started happening with George Floyd. And I'm going to credit that podcast with what I'm about to read in the next few minutes. But basically, I want to make a point that they made too as well, is that 100 police departments in the United States and thousands of police officers have taken his courses.
Oh, yeah.
He is the most influential single police trainer in the United States today. And I've also found out that in 2017, he was booked nearly 200 days a year.
Yeah.
Now, Grossman's thing is to essentially brainwash police officers into, make killing a conditioned reflex. Yeah. And this is what Behind the Bastards say is his quote unquote bulletproof mindset police training course informs officers that they are under risk of deadly assault at all waking moments, and they should err on the side of violence. He shows them footage of cops being shot over and over again, creating a view of the world today as a place where gangsters are trying to set records for killing cops, and every kid has murder fantasies. I want you to think about how he blames video games for what's going on out there with the school shootings. And then he says this to cops. You think about that one when he tells them that every kid has murder fantasies. He warns them about the effects of combat conditions and even makes a biblical argument for killing, all to establish the idea that police officers in their communities are the same as soldiers in a war zone. That's dangerous as hell.
I mean, me personally, I mean, once I hear religious reasons, I already lose interest.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to live with that.
Yeah,
and here's the other thing that we have to live with, and this is what else Behind the Bastards pointed out: the facts don't back Grossman up at all.
Oh no, there's no science behind any of this.
Police officers, hold on, lethal shootings of police officers have declined for the past 40 years, down 40% since the 1980s. Retail workers are as likely to be killed on the job as cops, and taxi drivers more likely. But Grossman believes that humans are instinctively against killing their own species. So cops have to be aggressively trained so that they are able to do it when necessary. We are making it, see, this is what he said. We are making it possible for people to kill without conscious thought. I can trick your body into killing, but if your mind isn't ready to come along for this ride, who's the next victim? You are. Grossman has been teaching this course for 20 years. He has trained more cops in this country than anyone. And he's teaching private armed citizens these theories as well, saying to them all, we need to embrace this word, kill.
This is the Kyle Rittenhouses of the world.
No, worse, George Zimmerman's of the world.
The George Zimmermans.
I don't know whether or not George Zimmerman has ever taken his course. We don't know that. But somewhere out there, somebody who wants to be the next George Zimmerman did. Mm-hmm. And this is what makes somebody like him dangerous. You know what's even more despicable about this dude? This asshole's never seen a day in combat.
No, they're phonies.
Never seen a day in combat. He's an Army Ranger, but he's never seen a day in combat.
Yeah, I have to jump in. Daryle, honestly, before you brought this guy's name to my attention, I had heard of Killology, but then I internalized. Before you really brought up there's a Dave Grossman me, I hadn't thought about it. And I have to say, looking into Grossman, his line of work, and just the whole infrastructure of BS around him, like Americans, we can't trust anything coming out of conservatism in the Republican Party. Is everything coming out of that movement going to be a lie? Like, they can't even handle police officers, right? Like, I mean, if all you see are sheepdog, and wolves, what does that leave with a traffic stop? What does that leave you with a diligent student? Like, this is why there's so much violence. Well, I mean, there's no, if all you see the world is black and white, like Warren is saying, he's a sick fuck. This guy is. Like, this guy, this is pathological. You showed us I don't know if you're going to play it, about like them having sex after shooting people.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that because there's a long story I want to get to before we get to that.
It's absolutely reverse. I mean, but this guy teaches cops to hate the communities that they're in.
Well,
here's
hold
what you
on.
said-
Wait a second. Hold on. Hold on. Whoa. Just full stop. We can't just run over that. Having sex.
Oh no,
We
he's
will
got a
get
video.
to
There's a
that.
video.
I'm
Daryl's
set.
got a video.
I haven't
Oh,
said it
you're
up
gonna
yet.
make me
Right
wait
there.
on that after that?
We gotta wait. We
Yeah.
gotta wait for the
Okay.
good stuff.
Well, we'll go to it now. Let's go to it
Yeah,
now. But
let's. I don't want to wait to hear this.
you didn't know this?
No.
Played it. Oh, he showed it
Okay.
to us.
Before we go to it, I have to set this up. In 1965, James Baldwin wrote a short story about going to meet the man. And it was a story about a white deputy sheriff in a small southern town named Jesse. As the story opens, he's in bed with his wife, Grace. They try to have sex, but Jesse, and listen, this is going to get a little graphic here, but Jesse is unable to achieve an erection. He can't get hard. So frustrated, what he does, he imagines the dirtier things he can force a black woman to do. And then the story proceeds in a series of flashbacks. He remembers a scene from earlier that day where him and a guy named Big Jim C arrested a young black civil rights leader in town. They had this line to register, and they wouldn't stay where Big Jim C wanted them. And Jesse arrests him, visits the young man in his jail cell, beats him, shocks him with a cattle prod, and declares, "You're going to stop coming down to the courthouse and disrupting traffic, molesting the people, and keeping us from our duties, and keeping doctors from getting to sick white women, and treating all the Northerners in this town to give our town a bad name." And as Jesse is leaving the cell, the barely conscious leader says to him, "You remember old Julia? Old Julia," and this gonna take a while. Old Julia had been one of Jesse's mail order recipients in a previous job, and Jesse realizes that he met the young man years before. He's old Julia's grandson. And enraged, Jesse beats him some more and says, "You're lucky we pump some white blood into you every once in a while. You're women." Jesse then grabs his crotch and feels his own penis violently stiffen. Remember, this is something that James Baldwin written in 1965. Then he starts thinking about other situations and other things that just makes them harder and harder. And he's only thinking of times when he abused black people in his life. And at the end, and you got to read the short story, but basically, it was a lynching that just gave him that renewed vigor. And he goes to Grace and says, "Come on, sugar. I'm going to do you like an N-word, just like an N-word. Come on, sugar, and love me just like you love the N-word." The story ends with Jesse having sex with Grace harder than he ever had before. Now, Leah, that second video, play it.
I've been on the road for 18 years. People know me. They trust me. I get a depth of information. I ask questions other people won't ask. Cop says, "Knockdown, drag out fight, cuffed them and stuffed them. Finally get home at the end of the shift, and cop says, gunfight, bad guys down. I'm alive. Finally get home at the end of the incident, and they all say, the best sex I've had in months." Both partners are very invested in some very intense sex. But there's not a whole lot of perks that come with this job. You find one, relax, and enjoy it.
Cut. When you read James Baldwin's short story that was written in 1965, and you come across that video that was done maybe 30 some odd years after James Baldwin had passed away, it scares you when you realize that this bullshit has been going on way too long, and we've been trying to sound this alarm way too long. And that's why I also, oh man, I don't even know if I can start that.
Well,
I
they
just
used to
realized
sell
how much
postcards
that
of
pissed me off.
lynchings.
I just realized
They used
how
to
much
sell
that pissed me
postcards
off.
of lynchings. I mean, there has always been a segment of racist white America that literally get off on violence against black bodies. If anyone out there has ever read the autobiography of Malcolm X, Malcolm X talked about as he was coming of age, just before he became Malcolm X, before he went to prison, he talks about how there were certain people in the black community whose income was based on catering to white people's perversions.
Correct.
Right. So like wealthy white people would pay black couples, either to sleep with them, or white couples would approach black individuals or black sex with. I mean, he even says one story, one white man would pay the black couple to have sex in his bedroom while he sat outside just listening and imagining. One white loved to have a black man treat him a baby and wrap him up in blankets like as a baby. I mean, this is the perversion behind racism. There's always sexual behind it. I mean, but yeah, like I said, they used to sell postcard lynchings. This is America. This is in lockstep with what America has always been.
Yeah, I would say
been,
go on, Brian.
I mean,
Sorry.
I mean, looking into the history of powerful people, these sexual perversions have kind of played hand in hand with that power. And if we look at, if we can go back to the Communist Manifesto, and I believe it was Engels that made the observations on the bourgeoisie that because they already have so much money, or because they already have so much power, and this guy has some prestige and stuff in these circles, and I'm sure he's doing well for himself financially, the bourgeoisie covet each other's wives. Because if you can bang the other rich dude's wife, that's something that you can use as a power play over them. So, the intertwinement of sex and power, particularly males dominating females as the more traditional role in most societies. And I know we could talk about exceptions. I won't get into that, but I think that this is something that sexual domination over a people was used by Romans. It was used by slave owners here in the United States. It's used in other Middle Eastern states where there's terrorist activity, in all over the world where there's been a domination of somebody. Sexual objectification is part of that. And if you don't believe it's still going on, all you have to do, and I know, Daryle, you're a very wholesome person, so you wouldn't do, and some friends have told me there's this website called Pornhub. And I've heard about it. I've never gone there, but there's whole subsections that are very disturbingly racist and dedicated to this kind of fetishized sexual activity. And it's, it's bothersome. It's still somewhat mainstream too. It's not really considered, racist, which is,
it's kind of like, it's comical because, I mean, let's be truthful. I do know what Pornhub is. Of course I do.
Oh, but, I heard
friends who have accounts on Pornhub. So it's not like it's a bad freaking thing. I mean, if you want to watch people fuck, go have your fun. But it was comical because there was a bullshit story that the Daily Caller, Tucker Carlson, put out about me showing porn at a press conference. And it was comical when I read the story because the writer wrote that he saw thumbnails on my tablet, and the line that I got a kick out of was, the thumbnails appeared to be of white women in compromising positions. Now he didn't expect to see me at CPAC that year. he thought that he could write that and that was going to be the end of it, and then he saw me there, and the first thing I said to him was, white women in compromising positions, really? And the only thing he could say was, I know what I saw. I made this dude shit his pants. I mean, but
who is the writer?
The thing about that, and the reason why I want to note that in particular, was the fact that they are afraid that we want to do to them what they actually have been doing to us.
No, but that's what it is. That's the entire fear of white supremacy. That is white supremacy in a nutshell. It is white supremacist fear that people of color will literally do to them what they have done for 500 years. Yeah. Rape, genocide, systematic enslavement, systematic violence, ghettoizing entire communities. That they fear, right? I mean, that's really what it is. They see our country as a zero-sum game, and that's the rage behind January 6th. That's the rage behind lynchings, right?
Yeah.
They perceive themselves as being top of society, and they see themselves as losing it. And violence is how they maintain that position.
And what I would say to that also is that people must be getting sick and tired of it, because even though this video that we just saw was out there for a couple of years, I mean, I saw it sometime last year. I mean,
Oh, wow.
when John Oliver brought it up, it started making the rounds last week, and everybody was going like, what the hell is this shit? I mean, that particular segment, everybody was like, what the hell? So people started looking into Dave Grossman a little bit more. Like I said, and Leah, I don't know if you have put the link up yet, but Behind the Bastards with Robert Evans, they covered him real well. So definitely go to that podcast. John Oliver did something mentioning him on This Week with John Oliver, but it was only literally this week when people started looking at Dave Grossman going, what the hell? Well, let me tell you what the hell. Give me an idea of how dangerous this character is. There is a cop in the Minneapolis, St. Paul area. We're going back there. His name is Geronimo Yanez. He took 56 hours of Dave Grossman's Bulletproof Mindset course. And he pulled over on July 6, 2016, a gentleman by the name of Philando Castile. Castile was driving with his girlfriend and her 4-year-old daughter when around 9:00 p.m. he was pulled over by Yanez and another officer in a suburb of St. Paul called Falcon Heights. After being asked for his license and registration, Castile, who had a license to carry, told Officer Yanez that he had a firearm, to which Yanez replied, "Don't reach for it then." And Castile said, I was reaching for, which we all assumed was going to be his license and registration. He didn't get a chance to get those words out. Yanez said, "Don't pull it out." And Castile said, "I'm not pulling it out." And Reynolds said, he's not. Diamond Reynolds is his girlfriend that was in the car. Yanez repeated, "Don't pull it out," and then fired 7 shots at Castile, hitting him 5 times.
Stupid.
Castile had died of his wounds over at Hennepin County Medical Center 37 minutes later. 20 minutes after being shot, actually. Now, Yanez eventually, he was cleared, of course. He was indicted, but he was cleared. The jury said that it just came down to us not being able to see what was going on in the car. Some of us were saying that there was some recklessness there, but that didn't stick because we didn't know what escalated the situation. Was he really seeing a gun? We felt Yanez was an honest guy, and in the end, we had to go on his word, and that's what it came down to. And here's the problem. Why I added that part. A lot of the police brutality cases that, at the very least, go to court these days, whether or not to get a conviction is another story. But a lot of them only seem to get that far if there's video. There's a lot of people sitting in jail right now who have committed murder, who have not committed murder, maybe sometimes they're innocent as hell, but are in jail nonetheless. And there was no video needed to convict them. And that right there is another example of where we have problems with this criminal injustice system. I mean, if you're going to talk, if you're telling us that the only way you can convict a cop is if you have video showing everyone that he did wrong, then this is a flawed system. Derek Chauvin was only the 7th of over 15,000 cops who had been involved in a killing to be convicted since 2005. 15,000 cases. and it's something that says, I mean, yes, we do need police reform. If you want to say police reform, maybe need a total abolishment, may need the funding, but whatever the hell it is, we cannot go on the way it's been going on. And if it's going on because of a piece of shit like Dave Grossman, emphasis on that last name,
Grossman.
then we got to kick him to the curb. Now, I know y'all got something to say, but there's some happy endings that I got for you in regards to Grossman. Not so happy. I mean, not endings because it's not over yet, but I got some news that came out today about Dave Grossman. So, you guys have anything to say before I get to it?
Yeah, I would just say, like, there's this article that our fans could check out. I don't have the link for Leah, but if you go Google, it's a CNN article 2016, CNN 2016, and the article says states require more training time to become a barber than a police officer. So I just give me a moment. I want to read off some numbers. North Carolina, to be a police officer, 620 hours. To be a licensed barber, 1,528 hours. California, 664 hours to be a police officer, 1,600 hours to be a licensed cosmetologist. It spends more time. You need more time to put lipstick on somebody than to hold a gun and hold people accountable and be a police officer. Florida, right, which has fastly become the worst state in the country, 770 hours to be a police officer, yet 1,760 hours to be a licensed interior designer. Yeah. I mean, I could keep going. I mean, it's absurd, but I mean, this is America. There was a that came out a couple years ago. I can't remember, and you could look it up and you could find it out on Google. It was some random police chief saying he didn't want intelligent people to be cops. You don't want critical thinkers to be police officers. You don't want people that are going to question authority, skeptics. These are people that make good police officers, according to police leadership. They want soldiers. They want drones. They want unthinking tons to do their bidding, right? I mean, the more police officers we have with social justice degrees, sociology degrees, political science degrees, that would, in my opinion, at least hopefully bring down some of the acts of police violence. Police in this country are uneducated. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. Cops in the United States are uneducated.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And I'd like to, I think we talk a lot about culture, I think, and Daryle being a journalist and an artist that got into making movies, I think, we try to influence culture, but it's important to talk about like the white supremacy that's ingrained in our institutions and why this takes place. We did a show last week on NJR Live, which I plugged earlier, and I will shamelessly plug once again. Because Bennett Zorofsky came on. We had a long conversation about qualified immunity and holding police accountable in these kinds of murders. And tonight we're talking about this Grossman guy who's really trying to ingrain a culture of, disrespecting life and just shoot first, ask questions later. And if you spend any time watching or listening, guys, there's clearly something wrong with him. I mean, there's clearly he doesn't look at the people he's talking to. And I noticed some kind of real quirks that I may know from observations on mental health over the years. But there's also that legal side, and the courts through this qualified immunity have just so reinforced a lawless and reckless police force. I want to quote Justice Sotomayor, who wrote a dissenting opinion in a recent case that said she has seen a disturbing trend of favoring police. Quote, "We have not hesitated to summarily reverse courts for wrongly denying officers the protection of qualified immunity," Sotomayor said, "but we rarely intervene where courts wrongly afford officers the benefit of qualified immunity." In other words, what she's saying there, and is probably an honest assessment, is that when cops use qualified immunity to get out of stuff, they've got the full backing of our legal and justice system. But when they abuse it and use it to murder people, we ignore that and fit on both sides of that coin. And it's important to know that we need to change laws and social structure as well.
We don't need to just change laws. We also need to, as regular people, we need to research and study some of these cases that we have allowed to just go by. Just because police have gotten no bill or have been cleared of wrongdoing doesn't mean it should stop there. Like I said, 15,000 cops that were able to get away with killing people across the country since 2005. There's really no, and only 7 convictions. There's really no excuse for it. Could there have been situations? Where we're talking, yes, that it was a legitimate shoots and legitimate kills, whatever the hell you want to call it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and deny that, but by the same token, the police have built up a level of distrust, shall I say, amongst the people that it warrants a little bit
They're
more
their biggest
revisiting. Yeah.
They're the biggest enemy. I mean, look, coming out of the summer of 2020, the biggest obstacle to the reputation of police from the public is police. Right? We had anti-police brutality protests the entire summer. What did the police do? Assaulting the elderly, assaulting peaceful protesters, assaulting women, assaulting minors, mace, batons. I mean, it's out there for everyone to see. I mean, for our viewers, if you come across somebody that is blindly supporting the police, this is something that is not honest or genuine. I mean, yes, there's good cops, and we could talk about all that, whatever, right? We need to hold bad police accountable and bad police leadership accountable. That's not happening in this country.
We need to also have their support, hold their supporters accountable, because we're getting sick and tired of all these damn right wingers trying to use bad cops as their shock troops. And that brings me to what's happening on May Day, on May 1st of this in Columbus, Ohio. There's going to be a Back the Blue Freedom Rally. Now, remember, Ma'Khia Bryant was killed over the last week. I was talking about the shooting in December. The brother's name was Andre Hill. I talked about what was going on in Ohio State at OSU, and the silly flight path that the Columbus police did with their helicopter. So everybody right at this point has been particularly pissed off at the Columbus, Ohio police, So there's gonna be a Back the Blue Freedom Rally on at the State House, at the Ohio State House lawn this weekend, and it's featuring none other than the biggest congressional pariah going today. Marjorie Taylor Greene's coming. So y'all can just be prepared for Marjorie Taylor Greene showing up in Columbus to talk shit, and it will be pure 14-karat shit.
She likes picking it with children, by the way.
Yeah. So, and it's like, Warren Albert brought up the song by Dead Prez called Police State. If you go on YouTube, I actually videotaped them at a rally in Washington, D.C. One of the few times at that time when I was going down to D.C. It was called the Jericho Movement, where we was calling for the Jericho Movement. We was calling for the release of political prisoners, and it was the first time I ever saw Dead Prez, and I remember that song.
I like this. I'm an African. I'm an African. I'm an African.
I have to find the video.
They give Puerto Rico shout out. So I love it.
I wish I could end it.
AFRIA, Rico, Ghana, NJA. I like some Dead Presidents, bro.
Well, actually, I didn't know Dead Preds did that, but I know the version that Stetsasonic did back in the 80s.
The black for the gun in my palm, the blood is for the
Angola, Soweto, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Zambia, Mozambique, Botswana, and let us speak about the motherland. That's Stetsasonic.
Is it the black is for the gun in my palm, the blood is for the red, the red is for the blood on my arm, and the green is for the Tron? Come on, revolutionary but gangster. You gotta love some Prez, bro. Come on.
Oh boy, I love
RBG. I just
but I wanted to go on because I still got.
I was gonna say, yeah, happy ending. So before we get to the happy ending, David Grossman is not the only predator out there profiting off of this cottage industry. There's another individual you could look up by the name of William Lewinsky. The website an organization called the Force Science Institute. And what this guy does is very similar to Grossman, is he fills police officers' heads with nonsense and lies. And when police officers get held accountable, i.e. like Rick Oven, this guy, William Lewinsky, will show up for $1,000 an hour. And no matter what the facts, no matter what the issue, will show up to support the police officer. From what I understand, he was actually not allowed practice in Canada because he's such a pathological liar. Naturally, very much like Grossman, they let him teach American police officers. I mean, for like, there is an all onslaught in this country from the American right wing, and that's what we're at now.
Right. Well, actually, Grossman's having some problems too now.
Good.
People are getting sick of him, and that's what the happy ending, if you want to call it, because it's not over yet, because he's still out there. But people are wise to his silly ass now. Back in November, or back in last year, when people started recognizing Grossman as this piece of shit that he was, they started going after him. There was supposed to be a seminar, courtesy of his little sheepdog crew, in October in Spokane, Washington, right? And everybody immediately latched onto it. They just spent months trying to get this thing shut down. And in like October, they finally did it. It was supposed to happen in October. And instead of having them, they had somebody else come to speak instead of Grossman. But he wasn't happy about it. He wasn't happy about canceling it. I mean, they were going to protest this thing anyway. Folks were going to protest it anyway because of the fact that this thing was happening and it was going to involve Grossman. But basically, the reason why they postponed it was because they decided, rather the Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knesovich postponed it after protests and demands to shut it down. And he said that they want to try to figure out a better way to go about it, and that will voice and see if they can listen to the community a little bit more. But in truth, he must not be listening, because at a press conference in August about it, he said, "Killing is the thing that should be avoided at all costs. However, you all send us out to do a very difficult job, and there are people that push that and threaten your lives and our lives." Now, let's just make it clear. Well, no, I'm not going to go there because I would say that the UK knows how to handle people without guns. The UK police can do it. Knesovich also slammed activists opposed to the training, calling them a group of progressive socialists that have decided that this training is not what it is. They're actually promoting a lie about the training. Okay. So he decided to red bait his way out of this shit, but they got it down.
It's like, okay, so we're dealing with a grown man in the 21st century that claims video game red baits. This the level of intelligence
I'm not
that we're dealing with. Like, this guy, like a figment from another era.
Can I ask? You're a professor and general intelligent human being about political science. What is a progressive socialist?
I mean, I think
whatever scares them.
I mean, when you're dealing with the far right,
even let me ask you: is that even a thing?
I mean, a progressive socialist is a redundant phrase, right? So, like, we're socialist, anti-capitalist. It's a redundant phrase. So, like, let me just rewind, right?
I'm not
this is how you know you're dealing. No, but this is dealing with shady people. No, but this is how you know you're dealing with shady people and right. When you're dealing with people that don't trust phrases like progressive or social justice, you're not dealing with good people, right? These are the people that don't trust social justice, educate. Like, if you honestly think being progressive is a bad thing, you need to reevaluate who you are as a human being, right? I mean, but this is with, right? This is a police officer who literally gets off sexually from murder people. Probably black people. Like, I'm going to say that, right? So,
well, that's what James Baldwin said.
Yeah, I mean, but like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, for years, like I said, they profited off of postcards, right? The fear of the black man is that the black man is going to do to the white woman what the white man did to black women for hundreds of years, right? There's no African Americans. There's no African Americans out there that are 100% black. I mean, I'm sure there's a handful of them, but like, how many African Americans are part white? So I mean, there's just this myth that black people are sitting around waiting to just pray, and this guy feeds into that narrative, and he's making a living off of it still.
Well, we're not. See, that's what I was saying. There's more in the happy ending. That was just one story.
Oh boy,
he's getting shut down all over the place. People are really tired of his ass, and this just came down the pike today. Novi, Michigan, which by the way is a suburb of Detroit, and it's not too far away from Ann Arbor. A police seminar scheduled to take place in Novi next month has been canceled after police learned about one of the keynote speakers.
Yeah.
Retired Colonel Dave Grossman has talked about taking a human life in several clips circulating the internet, but the executive director of the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police said the clips were taken out of context.
Yeah.
And so what happened was he was supposed to be teaching this seminar at Oak Point Church.
Yeah, he does churches
in Novi. Others felt there's some people who among the things that they complained about that was the fact that it would be a little inappropriate for somebody touting a company called Killology to speak at a church. And that's why that church started getting calls and comments. And they said, they talked with the MACP, the people that put it together, and said, it's probably best to cancel. So the MACP said Grossman was being brought in to talk specifically about helping cops work through the trauma and psychological effects of shootings. The MACP official, I'm done with that one, but MACP official said the event could be rescheduled again with Grossman, as there are efforts being made to get Grossman and his critics together to address the controversy. Now, I'm not big on platforming. I would love to see that little sparring event. I would love to see I would love to just see them rip him to shreds and bring up James Baldwin like we did today. The church says, however, it will not host Grossman in the future.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not
churches
doing
again.
It.
I mean, again,
the fact remains that frankly, I don't think there's really anything to talk about. There's nothing to address. The controversy is the fact that he exists, honestly,
and he's makes a living.
Yeah. So, but that's what that's what we're dealing with. That's one of the reasons why we have one of the reasons why we have the problem, and we still have that problem because Grossman, as we can tell from the MACP, is still out there doing his thing, and people are still paying him for now. But we got to step up on this.
Yeah,
we got to step up on this, and that's just basically in a nutshell. The only reason why he's catching hell now is because we're making noise about it. So everybody, I think, let me see. Christine Johnson just asked, "What can I do the next time he's hired to teach here, quote unquote, teacher in Chester County?" First of all, let's find out. Teacher in faith in Chester County, Faith Communities, Chester County, Chiefs of Police, Chester Police Officers, and Dave Grossman are teaming up for a free law enforcement only. Make the word out. Get the word out. If that's happening, get the word out. Every time that Dave Grossman shows up, y'all, this is me pretending to be Tucker Carlson, but in a responsible way. I'm not asking you to get in the face of people wearing masks. I'm asking you to just go out there and go buck wild and say, you will not have that son of a bitch teaching our cops anymore. Enough of this. And let them complain about how we canceled Dave Grossman. And if they do start complaining about cancel culture, you tell them, well, we're tired of him canceling our children.
Yeah. Publish the cops support him. We need these cops.
So
I guess
that's
I wanted to add, if you know somebody that's into this stuff, because I don't think we actually made the point here, Daryle, that I'll speak for myself here that I'm not an anti-gun guy. Actually, I like guns. I've owned guns in the past. I've been a hunter. It's been a while since I've been out, but I'm not an anti-gun guy. And Chris, you and I have talked about communists and guns, and I don't want the state to have a monopoly on violence, and I do believe that the right of somebody to protect themselves is a human right. That being said, and I don't trust this government to do things like background checks and stuff like that. I'd be honest with you. So that being said, there's a need in a society which accepts guns, which I advocate for, to have training in how to use guns, to have people that teach you how to be responsible with firearms, so you don't kill anybody. That's the fucking idea behind gun safety, is so that you don't kill anybody. And I think there's this sleight of hand trick that you have to recognize here, that Dave Grossman is doing. He's taking people, which may, and if you look at it, it's a little slick, right? Because he does come off saying, hey, we're going to protect our families. He uses these lines about, being able to defend yourself against, what if somebody breaks into your home? All these white guys love to fantasize about somebody breaking into their home that they can kill. And when it doesn't happen, they just shoot whoever's around after a few years. So, I think that, if you see somebody that's getting sucked into this, or if you see somebody's got a legitimate interest in guns, there's the John Brown Gun Club. There's, there's plenty of groups of friends. If you yourself like shooting, get together with some friends and go shooting, and make sure you bring, some good literature with you on the right kind of politics, and make sure that, if people are going to arm themselves, Andrew says, let's go shooting, man. Come on up to Maine, and there's plenty of places up here we could go. Let's go shooting. But let's make sure that if we're going to talk about gun safety, that we include in that gun safety peaceful ideologies and anti-racist ideologies and Antifa type politics in those elements of society, because I don't think America is going to get rid of guns anytime soon. And I'm not getting rid of mine. Gun range, just like the saloon. Listen, the gun range, just like the saloon or the theater, or wherever you get together with your friends for a chess club or a Dungeons and Dragons game, is a place of social contact for Americans, and it's important that lefties be in those spaces. So thanks a lot for that comment, and I agree. Let's go shooting. Come on up. Hang out with me. Let's go shooting.
But the bottom line. But in the end, we got to do something about these police trainers. We have to do something about our police to begin with, but we're really going to have to just cause them some grief if they're basically teaching police that the community that they're supposed to be protecting are the enemy. Bombing.
Oh wow!
And that's going to be May 13th. There was a number of children that were killed in that bombing in Philadelphia, and before it too. But there's something in particular that happened that we just found out about. Now we thought that everyone had been buried, who had died in that bombing. We found out Socialist Rifle Association, got to give them props too. Thanks, Aaron. We just found out that colleges in the New Jersey, Philadelphia area have been using, how in biology class or something like that, in courses, you would have like the skeletons. They would have skeletons, actual cadavers and all that. Turns out that the skeletons that were being used in one particular course were that of children that were killed in the MOVE bombing.
Ugh, cool.
And the fact that they weren't returned to the families is just unthinkable, unconscionable. I mean, they have done the city of Philadelphia has done some really shady crap to the MOVE organization, but when it's gotten to that point, then enough's enough. Something just downright screwed up, and it's one of those things where you just can't complain anymore. You just basically got to say they owe MOVE for the crap that they pulled over the past 40 some odd years. The whole MOVE thing started over a noise ordinance, and it has turned into this, where they're bombing them out of their homes, and now they're using their remains for science experiments and things like that.
Ghoulish stuff.
And the reason why I'm bringing that up in particular is because tomorrow, if anybody's in Philadelphia, tomorrow at 5:30, there is going to be a rally at the Penn Museum, calling for the return of those children that were killed. And I'm going to just read what it says on the Facebook event page, which, by the way, Leah, I am going to give you in the private chat to put up while I'm reading. And I know we're going long, y'all, but I just want to make sure we get this in. It says, for decades, Penn Museum at University of Pennsylvania unethically held hostage the remains of Delisha Africa and Tree Africa, 2 children killed in the May 13th, 1985 bombing of MOVE by the city of Philadelphia. They did so without the knowledge and consent of their living family members who believed they were buried in 1985. This means that not only were MOVE children abused and mistreated, bombed and burned by the police, now we find out that they have not been allowed to rest in peace. We demand answers, the return of the remains of Delisha and Tree Africa, and justice for MOVE. And the demands that they have in particular are immediate return of the remains of Delisha and Tree Africa, full investigation of Penn and Princeton's role in the unethical possession of their remains, fire Penn faculty and curator Janet Monge, formal apology from Princeton and Penn, which is really the least they can do. If they don't do anything else, they can at least do that. And 5, reparations for these atrocities. Yeah, I agree with everything there. Unfortunately, I cannot make it tomorrow. I wish I could be there. I wish everybody who do go out all the best, and those who can go, please do so, because this one does need to just, be spread far and wide, because if you want to talk about the ultimate in police violating our rights, even in death, y'all, even in death to children.
Gross.
Come on.
Gross.
No,
Very
it's time.
gross.
It's gone a long time that we had enough of these complaints. We're going to resolve this shit now. We're going to resolve it. And I said it once in a when I was interviewed about police brutality and about the concerns that we had last year. I said, look, we are going to come up with solutions. And I said in particular to the conservatives, you're not going to like them. You're just not. Because we're taking something from you. We're taking your ability to hurt us away. And that's just the real about it. And of course, that's one of the reasons why they're fighting us as hard. You will lose that fucking fight. You can take that to the bank. So, all right.
Did you mention? I'm sorry. Before you go, man, on that, do you have link information and stuff on that? On supporting?
I just did the Facebook page. It's right there at the bottom of the screen.
You got it there at the bottom. Okay. I would like to. I just wanted to remind our audience and let people know that a lot of our audience out there are. We know who you are, and we love you for it. You're organizers, you're activists, and stuff like that. Please share this stuff out. Let people know about these events, and help us out. Get people. Revolution Radio is not just a podcast, not just a live stream. We know our audience is organizers. We know y'all know how to get in touch with a lot of people, and you can have an impact when you want to. So. I just want to back up my comrade here, Daryle. And particularly, I know our audience is strong around the Philly area. I know a lot of y'all can either are around the Philly area or can reach into it. Do your thing, brothers and sisters and comrades alike. Thank you.
Hey, the summer's going to be just like last year. I see it. I see it now. The summer's going to be just like last year because everybody's fed up. That wasn't a one and done. And hopefully we will come up with solutions. Oh, no, there ain't no hopefully. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, all right. Like I said, we went long. Let's just knock it out the park. Let's just say goodbye to everybody. But Brian, what you got going? Christian, what y'all got going?
Tomorrow night, NJRR Live, New Jersey Radio Live. Or I'm sorry, NJR, no longer New Jersey. We're going to be having Jennifer Lewin. She is an Asbury Park activist. We're going to have her on for half the show. I'm going to be capping some national issues, some current events. So we're looking at 60 Minutes, New Jersey Revolution Radio. Christian Perez will be host tomorrow. Don't forget to donate. Please don't forget to donate and join our editorial, njrevolutionradio.com/donate. Please do so.
Please do so. Yeah. And I just want to say that if you guys can go to the Progressive and find this, you can actually find this online and look for this magazine because but you want to look for an article called Eyes on the Rise. I love that title. It's really an article about yours truly. And it's done by Lexi McMenamin, and it gives you an idea of who I am. So if you guys get a chance to find it at progressive.org, do so. If you can purchase this somewhere abouts, by all means do so. But I will see you next week, and we will all see you next week. It's been a long couple of weeks, and I'm thanking everybody for just powering through. And May's the beginning of a lot of things that are going to be going down over the summer. So people, all I'm going to say is as of right now, and by the way, remember that this week is going to be the anniversary of LA blowing up after Rodney King's and everything. And like I said, everything's going to be weighing on us right now. We know we're going to lose more people because this shit ain't over. I'm just hoping that it's not y'all or me and I hate to think that that is in our future. But what I'll tell you right now is that we need to do everything that we can to make sure it's not in our children's future. But it's going to be a fight, and it's going to be a fight we win, so long as we keep fighting, and as long as we keep getting things like what happened to Derek Chauvin and kicking assholes like Derek Chauvin to the curb. Dave Grossman to the curb. Derek Chauvin too, but still. But all right, it's 9:18, y'all. It's time to shut those eyes and rest up, because you cannot fight a revolution when you're sleeping through it. So take care, y'all. Peace.